Yeah, you need to update things on a regular basis, and as time goes on, firefighting changes and so forth, staffing levels change, the fire environment changes, so we got to keep up on our firefighting skills. So this is like a remake of the Bread and Butter series, and I was dealing with initial attack hose lines. So what we did, we just went over the basics of firefighting, how to stretch hose lines, how to get them into position, how to operate them, and then we showed the different methods. So like we went over stretching out of the hose beds. If one firefighter is taking the nozzle, then he should have 50 feet of hose with him, what we call the working length. And that working length is something that we need to get across the fire service because we want people to have enough hose to attack the fire when attack begins. So that was one of the things we put in there. Another one was how to stretch lines off standpipes. So we have a standpipe evolution in there, and what we talked about and what we showed was how to assemble your standpipe attack hose lines and going through all the principles of how to put the line together on the floor below, how to stretch the hose line out in the hallway, back up the stairway, so it works for the firefighters. In many cases, many firefighters can tell you, standpipe operations, high-rise fires, they're not like a house fire. It's a totally different animal altogether. So we got to make the system work for the firefighter. So that's another thing that we showed. Another thing we went over was how to stretch the line quickly up the side of a multi-story building. So let's say you have maybe a 10 or 12-story building and a fire on the 4th or 5th floor. Well, then there's other options rather than having to take the line up through the stairways and so forth, down the hallways to the fire. So we showed the people in this video how to drop a rope down the side of the building, how to tie off the hose line and pull it up there. And if you follow what we show you, and this is all basic firefighting skills, a fire department can put a line in service within a matter of a couple of minutes, 120 seconds, 150 seconds or something like that. And it's going to be a lot easier for their firefighters because now they just can use their hose lines from the engines and they just work them right up the side of the building, tie the hose line off, make the call for water, and it makes things go a lot better because it minimizes the stretch of the hose so we don't have to operate at excessively high pump pressures. It allows us to use a hose line. In a lot of cases, it's a pre-connected hose bed. And that allows us to also pull enough hose up so when we start the attack, we'll be able to continue on and not run short. Yeah, because I come from a major city and staffing, we always had a good complement of firefighters on the apparatus and arriving at the scene. And anytime you go to a fire, regardless of what people say, we see a lot of departments being cut back, staffing levels being reduced, fire companies being taken out of service. Not a good thing. If we want to be able to fight a fire effectively and attack it aggressively with a good level of control. In other words, don't go after your fires recklessly, go after them aggressively, but under control. We need staffing on the apparatus to be able to do that evolution. In other words, when we arrive at a scene of a fire, we should be able, if it's a bread and butter type operation, we should be able to get a 200 feet of 1 3/4 line out in most cases and get water to that nozzle within 90 seconds of the air brakes being applied. And that calls for a trained crew. You need a fire officer, you need an engine operator, you need a firefighter in the nozzle, and you need a firefighter doing the backup work. If you can get that organized, you get yourself a good firefighting crew and they can get that attack line in service quickly and efficiently. That might mean the difference between saving a life or making a good stop on a fire. So these are all things. The other thing is getting the rest of the assignment in there on that alarm to back up what the initial fire attack operations are undertaking. So if the second engine comes in the scene, we want them to be sure of if there's a need for a second line, they're there for that. Establishing a water supply, making sure that that first line does not run out of water. Truck crew, whether you got a truck or not, you still got to do truck work, and that's the supporting services for the people making the fire attack. So all this is supposed to come together, but it takes personnel and manpower to do it. Now going back to your original question, which you forgot, okay, I think I've got it here, is that now that I'm working in a smaller department, we got to work and we got to get the same thing done, but we have less people to do it with. What do we have to do to get those evolutions done? We got to think about making those people effective, putting together enough people to do the job safely and aggressively, but also getting the help in there through automatic aid or mutual aid. And that's what it's all about. You know, if we're going to make our firefighters safer and more effective, we got to get the right number of people in there to have enough people to do all that needs to be done and have extra. In other words, like a RIT crew, a relief crew, or whatever the case may be. That's a hard thing for a lot of fire service officers and people to understand. You know, so many times we see people, they're used to cutting back rather than adding to. So when it comes to something like this, where we're talking about more people on the scene, people on an apparatus to do the job, it's like, whoa, where are we going to get this, you know? Not where are we going to get this, it's how are we going to do this. This is what we got to do. We know these are the numbers and they bear it out, so. All the videos, all the DVDs are good, you know, and they're great. They're all about the basics of the job. And that's the biggest thing that I can tell you, because look, I'm in my, I don't want to say it, but I've been in this job a long time, okay, 38 or so. Anyways, that being said, I still fall back into basics. So try to get the basics from our videos. This is what it's all about, you know. How to stretch the lines, how to operate the nozzles, how to make your fire attack effective. When it comes to forcible entry, what are the basic tools that you need to be effective in forcible entry? What are the problems that you're going to be up against forcible entry-wise? Comes to ventilation, search and rescue, the same principles apply, same basic principles. So I think that's what we're trying to get in the videos here. So.